Final hour overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Jeff O'Neill, Frankie Corrado, Pierre LeBrun coming up. Hayesy B's list in about a half an hour. Our best bet still to come. Leafs coming off a really gutsy win last night. Really gutsy win. And like Spencer Carberry after the game was choked with his team. Like
Big time.
He was calling it like embarrassing and...
Well, they're in control for a lot of the game, Hayes.
They were. It was 3-1 with less than 10 minutes to go.
Dude, and I do understand how we could question the goalie. Like, if you look at the distance the goalie had to get to that puck, like the Tavares race in overtime, like, don't you think the goalie maybe should wheel out there and kind of get, like, come on, man, what are you doing?
I don't know. Like, obviously Marner, I think Marner knew what he was doing. Like, he wasn't.
Totally understand what Marner was doing, Hayes, but the goalie's got to be saying, John, watch the goaltender, like the distance the goalie would have had to gone to get this puck. Like, this puck is down there, and look where the goalie is. It's just like, he's just standing there. It's like, dude, you could have made a play at that, man, and I'll take my chances. That's what he's got to be saying. He was like, well, I'll kind of take my chance. You don't, like, I describe it as player recognition in tight spaces. John Tavares is pretty good. So I'm saying to myself as a goalie, I don't want this from John Tavares. I'll take my chance of having nothing and booting it out of the zone.
I think Carberry,
that's the quick decision you have to make.
And prior to that, like Carberry would have been really pissed off at the Nyes goal, that turnover. I think it's Tom Wilson.
Yeah, really.
That's the kind of stuff that drives you nuts, right? Like, you're in full control in that situation. You have the puck, and then you turn it over, and then it's a goal. Like,
dude, these guys are turnover machines, Frank. Like, I'm sorry, they're so into their own game that they just can't stop themselves. Where it's like this individual skill stuff, find a defense. It's just like that thing's got to go north.
Yeah.
North.
Well, because he's got a guy going too, and it's Carlson. That's John Carlson out at the red line. And then Tom Wilson turns it over there.
No, but that's part of the problem.
Like,
part of the problem is Carlson wanting to be available there. You don't need to be.
You're the defenseman. You gotta just hang back, man.
Hang
you don't
tight,
have to be
my
up
man.
there.
Hang tight.
Yeah. That would piss him off probably even more than anything, is Carlson being where he is. But it was a soft turnover by Wilson. And then the penalty on Nyes, like they called it a cross-check, I think. But it's in the neutral zone. You bury him because you're pissed off that you didn't score on the empty net. So you put the Leafs on a 6-on-4 scenario where Marner ends up tying it. There was a lot that I understand why Carberry would not have been happy, but he went over the top. They still got a point, and they played really well this year. He blasted them after the game. But I think, again, with the Thompson-Tavares thing, you'd think you'd want to take that battle on considering who you're skating against, too. Like, if that's McDavid chasing the puck, I could see why you'd be scared. Yeah, you'd be like, I can't beat him. But Tavares is not burning. Like, it's John, and maybe that's too quick to read it. Okay, it's Tavares. It does look a little bit deceptive when you see the puck making its way down the ice. It does look like it's slowing down,
like
and it just never stops.
Rock.
It does. And that, by the way, when the coach says, "Yeah, I had a conversation with the goalie about that decision," that's code for I can't believe that he didn't come out and play that.
Yes,
and I was pissed.
Right, and credit to Tavares.
Yeah, if you're watching on television, watch when you can go to the full shot of the goalie. Look how close he is to the puck. It's like, why did you stand there and look at that for so long?
But
I mean, look, Noodles can come on tomorrow and say that's the right thing to do, and he might just do that. But I just look at that and say, I am out there. That's not a speed demon. And by the way, like, the deciding factor would be that guy in tight spaces. I don't like my chances.
And he's not going to bury you. It's not Milan Lucic on Ryan Miller. Like, Tavares is not going to bury you when you come out there. But we just watched that clip how many times? 3 times. I'm still amazed at the save by Wall on Ovechkin. Man. Like, that still is the play of the game for me.
I totally agree.
Dude, I'm closing my eyes and saying, just shoot it somewhere. I'm not. That's a howitzer from Ovechkin.
It's not as if he didn't. I don't want to take anything away from him because he played it brilliantly, the angles. But that was not something where he read the puck. It was just get out and hope it hits you.
But isn't that good? Like, isn't that good
brilliant.
from a guy
That's
like
modern,
that?
That's modern goaltending for a big guy.
That's a guy who probably came into the season. A lot of us are talking about him being the number one guy, and then he gets hurt, and now Stolarz has played unbelievable, and this guy's getting the net on a back-to-back in Washington. He's not the guy anymore, except he made the save right there.
You know what I like
that is
about
so
that
important.
Goal? Joe from the bridge, play that goal one more time. I liked how he came out and eliminated the angle, because if he sits underneath the goal line, that thing goes under the bar.
Yeah,
he came out and challenged that, and it hit him right in the middle of the pads.
He looked confident. He looked confident for a guy.
That's why it hit him in the pads, is how far outside of the blue. Yeah. If he sits on the goal line, that thing goes over his ear hole and blows the crossbar up and into the net.
I guess that's
good
my
job,
point.
Wall.
It's great.
It's a confident play for a guy that has many reasons to maybe not be so confident, considering the way things have gone this year.
Well, especially the guy that's taking the shot, too. Like, that is right down Broadway in a howitzer.
And, dude, as soon as that shot that got disallowed from Karlsson went in, I'm like, there's your bad one that he lets in a lot. It's like the slap shot that was kind of like, that's the bad one. Yeah, it's like
traffic, gets in.
Did not have a good look.
No, I mean, that's Parayko got 2 of them on him in St. Louis a couple of weeks ago, and it looked very similar. Also, just like the courage you have to go out and stop that. I know that's your job, but like if that gets you in the collarbone from that close, do you know how much that would hurt? Like an OV bomb like that, and he just took it on, and next thing you know, the Leafs win the game. That was a big one. Very, very gutsy win for the Leafs last night. Here's Pierre LeBrun, our TSN Hockey Insider, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. What did you make of the game last night for the Leafs?
I thought you were going to lead off with Taylor Swift because,
I hear you.
Sick of it, man. We've had enough.
It's a big deal.
And we're getting a lot of texts from unhappy people now, Pierre.
Yeah, people are like, what are you doing, man?
Well, I was just going to say I traded for Travis Kelce in one of my fantasy leagues yesterday in honor of Taylor Swift's visit to Toronto.
There you go.
I thought that Leafs game was amazing theater, other than all the stoppages for video review. But I was there's a lot. I mean, you guys have covered it here today on the show, but I thought it was a big win for Wall. I thought John Tavares, never mind the OT winner, I loved his effort on the opening goal.
Yes.
That was vintage Tavares, and I really like the way he's played, and Matthews' absence taken on a bigger role, and certainly wants a new contract. Let's not escape that reality. So that was another point I retained. And they beat a good team that's on a roll. The Caps are 10-4-1, even with that loss. They've been one of the great surprises of the season. I actually was chatting with Caps GM Chris Patrick yesterday for a story I'm coming out tomorrow in The Athletic. But I blatantly, I think the older I get, I think there's a lot of honesty when I talk to these guys. And I said, Chris, I'm just going to say, like, I didn't think much of your team coming into this year, because I didn't think last year, making the playoffs with a minus 37 goal differential. I just thought they were just a team. Boy, was I wrong. I mean, that was basically my point to him, is that I slept on the Caps this year, coming into this year. They made a lot of changes. Traded for Dubois, traded for
Chikrin.
Mangiapane, obviously Logan Thompson, who was in goal last night. And we're in this era where it's hard to make trades. They made a whole bunch of them in the offseason, and I don't know. And they played well last night. Obviously, the Leafs came back to win, but I think Washington is going to stick around.
Pierre, I know whenever the GMs meet and you come on, you have a comment like, well, they're going to discuss the possibility of reviewing this now. After last night's game or other games that have gone on this year, is there not the idea of, guys, this is getting a little bit crazy, all these reviews? I know Hayes has been against it for years, but watching that game, it's like, really, what are we doing here? Is there ever been talk of, like, maybe this is getting a little out of hand?
I'll try not to be too long on this, but I don't know.
We got lots of time, pal. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on this show, but years ago when there was this huge push to bring in coaches' challenges and video review, the single person that was against it within his own group was Gary Bettman. I remember being at the GM's meeting in March, and everyone in his own office was for it. The GMs were for it. Frankly, I was for it, so I don't want to pretend. I don't want to play, revisionist history, because, every other sport and league was going there. And I'll never forget, and listen, I disagree with a lot of things with the commissioner of the NHL. I'll never forget him saying when they finally agreed to it, be careful what you wish for. I'll never forget him telling us that in the media in Florida that day, because you've opened the bottle now. You can't put the genie back in. And I remember thinking, what does he mean? I know what he means now. I'm telling you, all these delays. I mean, the offsides, which now every time you challenge, it's offside. The coaches pretty much get it right all the time. But did we really go to offside coaches challenge for 1 millimeter off the blue line?
Pierre, I got a great recipe or a great resolution to offside. On the original rush is your one opportunity. Any stop up, any shot, any puck that hits the yellow, you can't review it after that. It's a one-shot deal. How hard is that to do? It's very simple to imply that.
I mean, it makes sense what you're saying.
Yes.
I would go back to what we had, which is that the linesmen 99% of the time are pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know.
It's awfully difficult to go with that in 2024, Pierre, because people bitch and they've got camera phones and they got replays, and it would just be outrage, man. You can't do it.
And on top of that, I couldn't believe, honestly, I couldn't believe that the Matthew Nye's deflection was held up as a high stick.
Ridiculous.
Like, am I not watching that correctly? I'm with Craig Simpson. I think he had it as a goal all the way, and I kept looking at it, and I don't know. I mean, I'll probably get a call now when we get off air from someone in hockey ops, but I thought that was, and again, all these reviews, and it just takes away from. Otherwise, if you eliminate all those reviews and watch that game without it, if you clip it out, great game. Two teams going at it, stars on both sides, great saves, and a heck of a win for Toronto.
Okay, taking away the offside one, the high stick, the goalie interference. Have they gotten to the point now where they just are making rigid rules and saying if you are in the blue paint and you hit the goalie and the puck goes in, it's coming back, so we can eliminate any kind of gray area or subjectivity to it? Is that what they're trying to do?
Well, they might be trying to, but how are you going to do that, Frankie? Let's be real. The gray is what it is with that. The goal interference. How could it be black and white? People within the situation room don't all 100% agree. And probably, no one's going to admit that, but it's a gray area of review. But by definition, it's a subjective thing. Like, come on. I mean, again, I think the nightmare for everyone is that it's Game 7. It's not like a final, and you got a goal decided on this for sure. And in fact, I was at a playoff game where there was that big moment. Remember the overtime game between Dallas and Colorado last spring? I was there. I was there in Denver, and Dallas is trying to end the series, and the goal is disallowed, even though most people, I remember around me in the press box, didn't think it was goalie interference. Luckily, in terms of lack of controversy, Dallas wanted anyway to end the series, but that was that was as big as they came. And I remember, Jim Nill's one of the most mild-mannered GMs you're ever going to meet, as you guys know. I will just say that at intermission, his skin turned another color after that goal was disallowed. And there's a lot riding come playoff time on these moments. And the reality is, listen, NHL hockey ops is working hard with this. They're talking to managers. They continue to try to tweak this to get it to a point where everyone feels that the formula is straightforward. I'm not here to tell you that goalie interference is never going to be black and white. Never.
Mm-hmm. No, it can't be. Exactly. That's why, last night, if that goal was allowed, I would not have been surprised. If they just let it go in, and all right, fine, I guess. I mean, it's like they might as well go in there and just flip a coin and come out and say it landed on head, so the goal counts. Because
they're not trying. Not like they're not trying. They got a lot of smart people.
But trying what, though? That's the whole point. It's not an effort thing. There's no effort.
Bingo,
you're watching the tip. You're watching the tape and saying, all right, this is what I guess I think this time. Of course, doesn't matter. You get a third party involved that doesn't even know the sport. They're still going to have the same results. Half the time it'll count. The other half it won't. You have no idea why it worked that time or why it didn't that time. That's just the nature of it.
And I guess going back to Bettman's, I guess prediction on this years ago, it's not like it hasn't been controversial forever. Geez, back to the 90s, right? There are all kinds of controversial endings to games in the playoffs because of the blue paint and goalie interference. But back when it was just the refs on the ice calling it and nothing else, at least it ended there. You saved time.
Right,
I mean,
you lived with it.
Hated the call. You still hated the call, but at least it was over and you moved on to the next thing.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
Oilers Preds tonight. McDavid can hit 1,000 points on his career if he gets it tonight. If not, I wouldn't be Surprised if he got it Saturday night in his hometown, back in Toronto playing the Leafs on Saturday. What is the ceiling for him, in your opinion, in terms of like GOAT status, all-time status? We have these conversations in every other league with Mahomes and Ohtani and LeBron. Where does the conversation begin and end for you when it comes to Connor McDavid?
By the way, if he does it Saturday in his hometown, Morgan Riley just hopes it's not McDavid undressing Morgan Riley again in Toronto. Yeah,
remember that one? He did that twice to him, I think. The one was like extreme. It was ugly.
Riley was great about it, though. He's such a good dude. He was good about it. So I'm at a place now, and it's always better when you have the quizmaster sitting beside you with all his stats. But I'm just telling you that I'm in a place that it's taken me about 12 months to get here because I never thought I would bring someone into the conversation with Bobby Orr and Wayne Gretzky. I think 97 is already the greatest player ever.
You think McDavid's the greatest player ever?
Yep, I do. But I mean, by the time he's done his career, I think that's what we'll say about it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is very bold.
So hang on a second. I gotta interject. So you're saying when he's done, he'll be regarded as the greatest ever?
Yeah. When he's done.
Because Pierre, I just gotta say, no matter how awesome his stats are, he's gonna have 1,000 points. And the golden rule is when you think a stat's awesome, look at Gretzky. So 1,000 points for McDavid. How many points does Gretzky have? It's insane.
And he's not going to reach him. Of course, you're going to have to do era-adjusted and all that, for sure, when you compare their careers. But
era-adjusted.
I just have never seen a player, and again, I never thought I would bring anyone into it with 99, but I've never seen a guy do what 97 does. It's just at a whole other level. And again, he has to stay healthy and keep putting up numbers for me to say that at the end of his career. But you're asking me right now, I think there's a chance that's where I'm going to be when he's done.
Well, listen, I think that's a good thing for the sport. I hope he can achieve that. I think it would be, incredible entertainment and be great content for everyone. And obviously, this is subjective, just like the goaltender interference list.
Of course.
But he's got to win. I think he's got to win in multiple ways. He's got to win a Stanley Cup. He's got to win a gold medal at the Olympic Games. He's got to win best on best. That, in my opinion, is mandatory. And what I do think he has going for him is, and I think this is kind of what you're speaking to, is the longevity potential of his career with where sports science is now, the modern era. Like we saw Brady do what he's doing. LeBron had a triple-double last night. He's 39.
That's amazing.
A triple-double and a win against Memphis last night. He's 39 years old. There is a chance, because of how dialed in he is with his body, I'm talking McDavid here, if he keeps his skating up, this guy he may pass all these guys in points. Like he very well could. He probably will. And if he's still rocking at 40, 41, 42, that's what can maybe push him over the top. Is he's still a top 5 player in the league and he's 40 and he has 110 points and
dude, he's not exactly going to be buzzing around like that when he's 42.
I don't know, man. I mean, again, look at LeBron. Look at Tom Brady. Like those guys were.
Sidney Crosby. Look at Sidney Crosby. He's not slowing down either. The other thing I would say is I find it interesting. When I started doing this 30 years ago, the debate was still between Bobby Orr and Wayne Gretzky among those who had covered the game a long time, or those who had been around the game. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting over time is that debate, no one ever made that about the two of them. As time went on, and I think it speaks to fewer and fewer people that saw Bobby Orr play live, that it became, well, can anyone ever challenge Gretzky? But I'm telling you, and if Bob McKenzie was on air with us right now, he would attest to this. There was a time where the debate was hard and heavy between Orr and Gretzky. It wasn't just Gretzky. Now, I've always been a Gretzky guy as far as the best ever, but if you ask people before me who were around the game, that was a healthy debate. I guess I'm just pointing that out because it's interesting that you don't hear that as much.
Well, I mean, I remember as a kid, everyone said you put 5 Bobby Orrs up against 5 Wayne Gretzkys, Bobby Orr would crush him. Which, again, is a ridiculous kind of hypothetical.
The defenseman could play D.
Yeah, well, no, exactly, though. But the point was, like, his overall game, his defensive metrics, he was tough. He fought Bobby Orr. Like, Bobby Orr fought guys and stuck up for himself. But he didn't play that long. Like, that's what kind of sucks is that his knees failed him and he couldn't finish what was a great career.
Is it also crazy now too? Like, I go to some of these alumni events, Pierre, and you talk to some of the guys that played back in the day, and they'll straight up tell you, on every team we had 5 or 6 guys that could not play hockey. Like they were just there for whatever reason. Like, I swear to God, I hear this from guys that played. Nowadays, like, McDavid's in an era where, he's overlapped with Crosby, and he's got Draisaitl on his team, and McKinnon, like Matthew, all like all these unbelievable talents all at the same time, and this guy still seems to like shine above it every time.
Well, I also think it speaks to the evolution of the game. I mean, I wrote a piece on Jacob Trouba a couple weeks ago, and it did not please all my readers. But the point of the piece was that he was stuck in the wrong era. Like he got in a hot tub machine in 1995 and woke up in 2024 because he hits like players of that era, like a Cronwall, like a Stevens. But he hits for the most part legally. It's just that today's player that comes out of the O, comes out of U.S. college, comes out of Europe, players are not anticipating that hit or actually being that interested in delivering it. The game is not physical like it was, and I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying watch the game with your own eyes, both at the junior level and at the NHL level. There is less hitting. And the emphasis is absolutely on skill development. Your fourth-line player skates 100 miles an hour. That wasn't the game 25 years ago. It's a different game, and it may be that this is how the game is going to survive. With, everything we know about head injuries and everything else, the sport organically did a pivot about 20 years ago and said, this is who we are now. There's less fighting. And again, I'm not putting up a pro or a con here. I'm just saying that's what we're seeing. And within that, you just talked about all the skill we have across the league. I mean, every player at AAA and even below that has a skills coach and is working on skills. These are not things that kids were doing 25 years ago routinely.
No.
And you're seeing it. The end product is everyone can skate like the wind. No question about it.
Well, and McDavid's at the top of that list in terms of his skating ability, his point production, the hockey IQ. And I assume he hits 1,000 tonight and then rolls into Toronto on the weekend. And question is, will Auston Matthews be playing? And if he doesn't skate tomorrow, he's not playing Saturday, Pierre. I don't know what you make of it. They're not saying it's not a setback, but he's not skating and he hasn't played in 2 weeks. I mean, something's going on here with 34.
Yeah, and I don't know that we've been totally getting 100% of what we need to know on this. But right. Chris Johnson had an update on Auston on Insider Trade this evening and said it finally sounded like there's some positive news coming down the pipe here. But I'm with you. Okay. It's I think at this point I want to see him. Want to see him in the lineup to see where he's at.
Well, yeah. I mean, Saturday night you get Taylor Swift, Auston Matthews, and Connor McDavid. You can't beat that.
There you go.
Can't beat it, Pierre.
With Taylor Swift. I thought you said you were done.
No, well, I'm always willing to circle back. Come on, why not? It's a big story. He's in town. What are you going to do? Are you going to any of the shows?
I failed my daughters and did not get them tickets. Yeah. So I am not out of the year.
Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club, buddy. You and I both. All right, Pierre. We'll do it again soon. Thank you for this.
That was great. All right.
There you go.
No Cowboys questions.
No, we'll leave it alone. They're so awful. We don't even care anymore. It's not fun
embarrassing.
Anymore.
Goodbye.
It's not fun anymore goofing on them.
I'm crying. I'm laughing. All right.
Thanks, Pierre. Pierre LeBrun joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Check out Maple Toyota's huge truck and SUV lineup, including Tundra, 4Runner, Highlander, and Grand Highlander in stock and ready to deliver. Visit mapletoyota.com. That's a bold statement from Pierre. He's saying in a decade he will be saying Connor McDavid, greatest player ever in the history of the sport.
That's got to mean there's at least a couple.
I think at least a cup, at least a gold medal, 3 or 4 more Hart trophies, and probably the most points. Like he's probably got to establish a lot of records.
Hart trophies plus Art Ross trophies too.
Right.
And I think that kind of goes hand in hand.
I'm not even close to like that's just as good as this guy is, and he's unbelievable. And I do agree with the Quizmaster's assessment, most evolved player.
He loves that.
Man, he loves that one.
Loves that.
Loves that one.
When people say that, like, I don't know, he must have like outer body experiences when people say that out loud.
He has, by the way, full copyright on that bad boy.
Oh, yeah. Trademark, the whole nine. That's his. That is his. He owns that.
Yes, that is his you-know-what saying.
Yeah.
that someone else loves.
Don't say it, man.
No, I'm not saying it.
Do not say it.
But that's his. But to just say, like, think of all the things that have multiple more hearts.
Yeah.
Multiple more scoring championships, cups.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
No guarantee, man.
It's no guarantee. It's no guarantee. And he's in his 10th year now. I mean, by year 10, Gretzky had done everything already.
Yeah,
He'd won
good luck
4
to
cups.
Pierre with that comment, by the way. R.I.P. to your mentions.
Listen, he's going to be in the top 10 if he's not already. Like that's so you are, it's not as if you're saying, a guy who's not even in the top 20 you think could do this. It's not like if you said, well, I think Connor Bedard will be the greatest ever. You'd be like, just stop. That's not true. Like this guy's
he's already getting
together.
like as soon as he stops playing, he's in the Hall of Fame. They'll do a special ceremony for him, like right away.
You think he'd get that? Will they do that for Sid? They should do it for
better.
Sid if they're doing it for McDavid.
Sid and Ovi should go right in.
Yes,
right in.
I would concur with that. But if they don't with them, they better not do it with McDavid.
For no other reason than why not? Like you can come up with all these reasons, and I hate getting into the conversation of I think this guy's a Hall of Famer, and all I hear back is reasons that they're not, and it's like why can't they be? It's like there's some guys. I'm not going to get into naming names again because it's just it's an uphill battle. But it's like, why not? It's a great story. I don't think if you put them in the Hall of Fame, people wouldn't go to the reasons that you don't think he should be in there.
Well, exactly. There really would not be much of an explanation as to why they're in. And it would, I think my guess would be the fear is, okay, where do you draw the line on the next great player? Like those two stand alone clearly, then McDavid, but who else would draw that type of attention?
Doesn't matter. You can start with those 3 guys. They go right in.
Yeah, those would be the 3 guys right now that would be worthy of right-in status. Crosby, Ovechkin, McDavid playing the game. Everyone else, wait 3 years. You're all great players. You're going into the Hall of Fame. But, it's going to be fun to see him in town on Saturday, and I guess we'll see what happens with Auston Matthews. If he skates tomorrow, practices, he'll probably play. If he doesn't, or if he's in like a red jersey and non-contact, then I can't imagine he plays Saturday, and that's a bummer. But the Leafs don't play a lot coming up, like we said. They play Saturday, Wednesday, something like that. They play like 4 times or 3 times in the next 13 days. So you're 4-1 without him. Can you skate through another 2 or 3 games and give him like 3 weeks off, a month off?
I'm sure you could, but then once you're back, be back.
That's it. And be rocking again.
Yeah, like don't do he's going to be out again. Like, no. If you're out now, just stay out.
Exactly.
And then be ready to
get
go.
to 100%. And then when you come back, you have to resume duties as the best goal scorer on earth.
But be available too.
Yes.
Like you can't be
ready
leaving
to play.
the lineup again.
Yeah, for sure. All right, best bets coming up later in the hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, best bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour on the Thursday nighter tonight. Timo and Wilson taking the points, plus 3.5. Commanders in Philly against the Eagles tonight. And I got a list here I'm going to get to in just a moment, but I think what we might have to do later in the week, because Twitter is on fire right now with Trump announcing all these different people to different roles within his government. People are using sports figures and coming up with like different jobs that they should have.
That. It's pretty funny.
It's so good. Yeah. Like someone posted something last hour, like President Trump announces Shohei Ohtani's interpreter as the Secretary of Treasury, which is so good. And
Shohei Ohtani's interpreter.
He's in his cabinet.
Is that guy is he in jail?
I don't know if he's like physically in jail, but that guy's definitely on watch.
I saw one.
No, he's going to jail for that, isn't he? You steal $10 million from someone.
Yeah.
You're going to jail.
For like a long time.
Donald Trump announces that John Tortorella will lead the Department of Culture and Rookie Development.
Yes, I love that. Torts. Mitch Goff would, I'm sure, agree with that. Yeah, there's been some really good ones. Like there was a Joel Embiid one, something about not playing. I don't remember the exact terminology, but there's a lot of really good material out there. Yeah. So anyway, maybe we do that tomorrow or next week. I'll come up with another list. But last week or 2 weeks ago, you mentioned the underpant cam is something that we talk about fondly on this show. And generally, the context of it is someone that is really not comfortable with what's happening around. Not liking life. And there may
nervous,
be some
and
nervous
anxious.
anxiety. Exactly. Nerves and anxiety. All right? So I have a 5-pack of coaches scattered through a few different leagues.
Are these all of these coaches are on par, or is like the guy at 1, he is really
I have the guy
himself?
at 1 that we kind of decided to do the whole thing based on this guy. So I'll get to him momentarily, but I'll break it down for you. And what you have to realize here when I do this list is it's different extremes, right? There's different reasons for it. Some of it is your job is you're probably gone. Some of it is your team's a disaster and you're going to have to take the heat. It doesn't necessarily mean this guy's going to get fired, but it means this guy is dealing with nerves and anxiety for different reasons. All right? So here's my 5-pack. Number 5, I have Nick Nurse at number 5, the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers.
I would be there too. I would be there too. It's a great pick.
Okay, I'm glad you see it that way because they are 2-9. Joel Embiid just doesn't want to play basketball anymore. Paul George has bruises, so he can't play. And it appears as if their season has already spiraled completely out of control. Mm-hmm. He left what he knew was going to be a dumpster fire in Toronto. He knew what the Raptors were, where they were going. And he got out, and he got paid a lot of money. And remember, there was talk he could go to Milwaukee. Maybe he goes to Houston. Maybe Philly. And I kind of think Nick basically said, I'll pick where I want to go because I want to go somewhere where we can compete. And I think he picked Philly, and look how it's going.
I guarantee you, when Philly came up as an option, he would have said to himself, give me MVP Embiid, and I can do something with that team.
Absolutely.
If he's healthy and he plays. And now guess what he's saying to himself? I missed the Embiid window.
That's right. That's right.
Because he did. He did.
I think he missed that MVP window's gone.
And he can't do anything about this. He can't walk in that room and just look at the guys and be like, you got to play. Because he doesn't have that power.
There's only one guy that has that power, and that's Adam Silver.
Right.
And he didn't. He chose not to do it.
That's right.
How he did that is insane to me.
Yep.
Kyle Lowry was out there running around.
I know. Kyle's in his late 30s.
Yes, and he's out there. Like, that's what I can't understand. Like, the guys in the locker room were saying, "Hang on, this doesn't make sense. You make $60 million a year, and we make peanuts, and we're out there busting our ass, and you're not. You just decide you don't want to play." How does that possibly make sense for a sports team?
Lowry's got bruises that are 5 years old, probably.
Yeah, perma bruise.
Yeah.
And you talk, like Luke was in here earlier, that guy probably has to show up like 4 hours before the game to stretch. And you know how many days, like you guys know when you get older, even pro athletes, like he would wake up some days and be like, man, my legs are shot. I have nothing.
Yeah. I got nothing today.
Nothing. I'm so old. I can't believe I'm still playing, but I have to play. And they're 2-9, and Embiid and Paul George have to walk in that room and look at everyone and be like, sorry, guys, injury management.
I don't play tonight.
Couldn't play, but we're 2-9. Good luck tomorrow night. So Nick Nurse is at number 5. This one might surprise you, but at number 4, I have John Schneider, the manager of the Blue Jays. The reason he's on this list is because he is relying on Shapiro and Atkins to supply him with a massive offseason. And if he doesn't get it, he knows what's coming. Because if they implode this offseason and don't get the right pieces, if they lose next year, they're all gone. It's all out. And yes, it's focus on Shapiro and focus on Atkins. Schneider is their guy. And John, I think, realizes this is probably it. Like, this is your opportunity to make yourself in Major League Baseball. Doesn't mean he won't get another job in baseball. He'll be a bench coach somewhere. Maybe he goes and manages in the minors. But there's a long history of managers that come up to Toronto and just don't ever go anywhere else. Don't get other opportunities. Cito Gaston didn't get other opportunities. John Gibbons, no other opportunities. Like, long list. Bobby Cox, probably the last guy who was here and went somewhere else and managed continuously for a long time. This is his chance, and he needs a massive offseason to help him keep his job and continue to be a manager in Major League Baseball and make a legacy for yourself. And create something where other teams will say, even if it doesn't work for you here, we want to give John Schneider a chance to run our ball club.
Well, that was part of the thing when he got hired. Wasn't that some of the narrative? Like, this guy is getting hired somewhere, whether it's the Jays or someone else. Like, it was his time to go up to the majors and run a ball club. But I think you're right. Like, it would be very scary being him, knowing that those two guys, Shapiro and Atkins, your fate kind of lies in their hands and what they do this offseason.
That's
because
right.
even if they run back the whole, which I can't believe I'm going to say this, we got to improve internally. Great. Where does that leave you? Right back where you started last year. And if there's one guy who's going to be a scapegoat before the other guys go down, it's him.
Yeah,
I think it's a dangerous game, guys. The idea of a front office, their jobs depending on an off season. I think that's a dangerous thing.
I agree, man.
Because you start swinging and missing on a guy like Soto and others, and then you're going to plan B and C. You're handing out garbage contracts to players that aren't worth it in desperation, and you are basically sewering the whole operation. And you're leaving the next guy with a pair of underpants you wouldn't recognize.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's it, man. I mean, Buster Olney was on First Up yesterday and said that he was speaking with an executive in the league who labeled them as reeking of desperation.
Oh,
those were Olney's words. He's like, I spoke with an exec who said, "Oh, the Blue Jays reek of desperation," which means they have to do stuff. And you're right. If Soto goes, thanks, but no thanks, I'm going back to the Yankees, they're going to splash money around if they have it. And who knows if it's going to work. I mean, that's not a good sign. When that's your reputation, the rest of the league is looking at you thinking you need to do something or you're in big trouble. That's not a good sign. All right, number 3, Mike Sullivan, the head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Someone's going to have to fall on the sword there. Not going to be Sid. Not going to be Kyle Dubas. Not going to be the owner.
It's pretty scary how you look at the whole operation and no one's really like, everyone's like, not my problem. Not my problem. It's not my problem.
Got to be someone's problem.
Dude, no kidding.
And I think probably Mike Sullivan is looking around going, all right, Fenway liked me and Fenway allowed me to bring in Kyle and I've been here for a while. But at some point, if the market completely turns, ownership is going to basically give the mob a piece of flesh and say, here, we did something for you. You're so angry and you hate the way that this whole place is being operated. We will make a change for the sake of change. And the guy that is going to fall on the sword there is Mike Sullivan.
I just had a light bulb moment, right? Everyone's talking about Penguins, Sully, Dubas. We know that Sully was in, the conversations about bringing in Kyle. Remember when Kyle wanted to do the GM search and he just kind of had, I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
What if, you kind of, in a weird way, you promote Sully to GM, and then you're just the president, and you have a new coach, and, because Sully's in with the Fenway group, he's still involved in that way.
That's an interesting thought, but that would be ownership that would demand that, because Kyle's not letting him in the Fox den. No chance, man.
He's in the Fox den to a certain degree, though, as the coach, wouldn't he be?
He is, but, Kyle inherited him. I don't know if Dubas would be comfortable with him stepping in and all of a sudden taking over GM duties. Where Dubas would still have...
When you're in the Fox den, as you guys call it, this much losing and as ugly as it gets, the old Fox den changes pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like, people, it's just, they look at each other and they're like, somebody's, like you just said, somebody's going. Somebody's got to be responsible for this.
Right. Well, and the cynic in me thinks Dubas wants to keep Sullivan around as long as possible because he's taking all the bullets. You get rid of Sullivan, and then everyone's like, all right, who's the GM here running this show?
I think Dubas is taking bullets, man.
He's taking a lot of bullets.
He's taking bullets. Like, he made the Carlson deal. Sully didn't make that deal.
And he signed Tristan Jarry.
Dude,
right?
There's a bunch of other ones. There's Kevin Hayes. There's Riley Smith. There's Graves. There's signing Jarry. There's a lot there, dude.
Yeah. Achari was another. Achari's a good player, but he's not fast and he's not.
Yeah, it's like on an aging team. It's like, why did you need to bring in that contract and that player?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's taking his bullets.
He sure is. All right, number 2, I have Andrew Brunette, the head coach of the Nashville Predators. Listen, it's been so ugly.
He must be dumbfounded, Hayes. Like, he must be just watching this like, you guys are the upgrade, and now we're junk?
That's right. Look at what my GM supplied me with. I have Marchessault here. Marchessault is really bringing nothing to the table right now. Stamkos, Brady Shea. And when you have a market like that where the owner doesn't historically spend a lot and you don't have – they don't cause a big stir generally in Nashville. Like, that's not their history. And their history has been – kind of low event, quiet hockey that's very successful, good goaltending, good defense. You try to win 3-2 games, and now your GM has gone out and tried to basically flip that a little bit in the way that they operate, and it's gone so poorly. it's kind of like the Sullivan chat. Someone is going to chew on that. Like someone's going to get hit. And I don't think Brunette should be at the front of the line. I think what he managed to do with that team in the second half last year was outstanding.
I agree.
Yeah. But it's so ugly. And they had Stanley Cup aspirations in Nashville. And if they don't turn it around quickly, something's going to happen. So I got Brunette at number 2. And number 1, Mike McCarthy, the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, McCarthy
what a miserable existence
crime
knowing
scene.
that you're getting canned. Like,
has there ever been more of a dead man walking in pro sports than Mike McCarthy?
Yeah, the last coach of the Cowboys, Jason Garrett. That's who.
Yeah, Garrett,
that guy was dead man walking too.
Yeah. Garrett was walking that plank though for like 2 or 3 years.
Dude, no kidding. Well, so was Mike McCarthy, Ben.
Yeah, he was. Last year the thought was
everyone was like he's gone, and then Barry Jones was like, I'm bringing him back.
Yeah, that's right, man. I mean,
it was bad play calling, wasn't it? Like, what was the thing with McCarthy last year that was following him?
Play calling was one thing. His clock management has never been strong. He's never been like a timeout merchant. Like he's always kind of had issues on that front. But yeah, I mean, listen, this guy's won a championship before. He won a Super Bowl with the Packers. He's been a head coach in this league for a long time. And yet it's so bad and so ugly down there that McCarthy, I'm sure he's just looking around thinking, what am I supposed to do now? Like Dak's done. They've had tons of injuries on the defensive side of things. They have no run game. Their offensive line's getting old. And Jerry Jones is your owner. Honestly,
it's embarrassing. We saw with the Leafs that year when they brought in Peter Horacek. When you got a team that just packed it in as the head coach, it's embarrassing to go out there and answer for them every night.
Yes.
Like I think Peter said one night, he's like, "Go ask the players, man. That's enough. Like, go ask the players."
Well, and just like in this market, it's not going to die down the coverage in Dallas. Like the media is not going to be like, "All right, we're going to go cover, the Rangers and the Stars." It's just going to get louder and crazier. And now, if you're the coach, you're responsible for keeping it as civil as possible.
Dude, forget about local coverage. National coverage is still.
Can't get enough.
It's still Cowboys.
Yes.
Yeah, regardless of whether they're good, they're bad, because people want to watch the train wreck because everyone they know is a Cowboys fan, and it's like the biggest thing to talk about, and Jerry Jones is going to give you the soundbite in the weird press conference in the hallway after a game.
Then if you're Mike McCarthy, you're thinking, I know I'm out of here. I know I'm toast. I know they're going to blame me, yet I have a responsibility to try to keep this as normal as possible, because this is when you get Micah Parsons on a podcast after games, carving different people.
He's turned into a loudmouth, hasn't he?
He can't wait to talk after the game.
He can't. I thought he was just going to be like a stud defensive player, the next Donald, and it was just going to be. But he's turned into a circus, man.
Yeah, that's outrageous that guys after games will hop on a podcast like Draymond was doing that. Like that's the last thing anyone would want to be doing after a game.
Yeah,
like,
I can already see
what would
if I could rewind, and I don't want to sound like a dinosaur. It would be the first time that happened before practice. It would be I could just see Gary Roberts or Ron Francis standing up and say, "Guys, just a quick note here. Anybody else goes on a podcast, we're going to tell the GM to trade you because we're not doing it." So that's just a little note for everybody. Have a good practice.
Yeah.
That would be it. That would be it.
It is a different world, man. It's
you want to hop on a podcast. It's probably we're not putting up with it around here. So, and I know that's dinosaur talk and it's NHL hockey, but that's what would happen.
But it does stuff to the room. Oh, that's the thing. Like it brings distractions into the room that should not be there.
But today's athlete, they're allowed to do whatever we want. We're talking about a guy that makes $60 million who won't play back to back. I believe in the Paul Coffey theory, which is the travel's tough. Maybe you're a little bit tired, but you're playing some guys 16 to 18 minutes a night. That's not that much time.
Yeah.
That's how Koff would talk about it. He'd be like, what are you talking about, man? You're going to play 15 minutes tonight. That's all you got to give.
Yeah.
Make it work.
Well, that's what's been said also about Embiid. You don't play 40 minutes. Play 25 minutes. Like go out there.
Like you're telling me there's no chance you could give any contribution at all?
Can't do it.
That's ridiculous, man.
Can't do it. All right, best bets coming up, and we'll tee up the Thursday nighter again. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Eagles money line tonight. Devontae Smith, 50-plus yards receiving. Saquon Barkley, over 93.5 total rushing yards. That paying plus 273. I like the Eagles' offense tonight. Today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Live same-game parlays now available for whatever game you want to play, NHL, NFL, and, of course, FanDuel, home of the same-game parlay. OverDrive's exclusive same-game parlay. Please play responsibly, 19-plus, physically located in Ontario. All right, so we got a ball game tonight. We've got the Raptors back home tomorrow, the Leafs in action against the Oilers on Saturday, and the Argos in the Grey Cup on Sunday. And Taylor Swift's here all weekend.
What a weekend.
What a weekend.
What a weekend.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be good, man. We got Peter Forsberg supposed to be on tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Catch up with Peter Forsberg. That's going to be great. Ryan Dinwiddie will join us from BC ahead of the Grey Cup, right? We've been talking to the head coach every week for the last couple of weeks. Maybe we're kind of superstitious and thinking he's getting an overdrive bump here.
Apparently those Grey Cup parties are just wild scenes.
That's what I've always been told.
It's a
heavy
over there.
beer drinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some mild dartage.
I think so.
Could be some dartage.
I think everyone's finding a way to have a good time.
Yeah.
And that's all you want. That's all you can expect.
Safe,
That'll be great.
Good time.
It's going to be a great weekend.
Yeah.
Great Cup. I'm
It's a
looking
good
forward
city
to
for it, too.
It is. You can't beat Vancouver. It'll be awesome. All right. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at...
Hayes, I'm going to have a response show tomorrow for you, pal. I owe you, brother, because I was a...
We're good. Let's rock and roll tomorrow. Cannot
tomorrow
wait.
At 4 p.m.
4 p.m.
Got to start on time. We'll chat then.